Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video we're working on a very simple project, simple as usual, and it's just a long skirt with a slit. And as you can see here, I'm using two different colors. I have the gray and I have this teal color. You can absolutely use any colors of your choice, but these are the colors that I'm using for my project here. And it's a very simple one. I do very simple crochet projects for beginners, so stay tuned for this one. And in terms of the type of yarn that I use, I will talk about everything that I'm using. But if you want to switch the yarn from acrylic to like another type of wool, you can absolutely go ahead and do that. But I will be showing you guys how to do it in this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so before we get started with the video, I'm gonna show you the materials that we're using for this project. And as you can see here, I have my two colors of yarn. I will just talk about one, and then the other one is exactly the same, just a different color. So it's azurite, which is 100% acrylic. It's a lightweight number 3 for this yarn here, and this company goes by color number, so it's 28691. But I guess I would go with teal. It's a tealish color. This yarn here comes, or the skin here comes as a 50 gram or 140 meters, and recommended hook size is 3.5 to 4 millimeter crochet hook. Everything is exactly the same for these, except the color number is 3074, and I will refer to it as light gray. Okay, so this is the two colors that I'm using. You can obviously use any colors that you like, and you can also use any type of yarn that you like. For a crochet hook, I'm using a G6 US, which is 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. I have my darning needle here. I have some stitch markers just in case I need them. I have my measuring tape and a scissors to be able to cut my strands. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get the project started, I'm going to start by doing the band for the skirt, and I'm just gonna start with this teal color, which I will do kind of like the top part of the skirt in this color, and then in the bottom we will do the stripes in the gray. And I'll just leave a little bit of a chain hanging here, or the little bit of a string hanging, so we can use it to join our work at the end. And I'm gonna start by doing a slip knot like this. Okay, so at this point you can do the slip knot however you usually find it easier for you, but this is how I do my slip knot. And then I'm going to start by doing a chain of 11. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Okay, so this part here is going to be the width of our the band of the skirt. If you're looking to have this be a little bit wider, increase the number of chains, and if you want it to be narrower, then decrease the number of chains. And it doesn't matter if it's an odd number or an even number for the number of chains. Okay, we're gonna start the first row, so we're gonna skip this first chain right here, and in the second one we're gonna go in the back and complete a single crochet just like this. And I'm gonna go up into the next stitch and grab the back loop of the chain and complete a single crochet, and I'll do the same thing in the next. And for this row here, we're just completing single crochets in the back of the foundation chain all the way to the end. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so that is the end of our first row here, just a very simple single crochet row. And we're going to start a second row by doing a chain 1 and turning, and then we're going to go into the next stitch, which is this one right here, and we're going to grab the back loop and complete a single crochet. And then into the next we're going to complete a single crochet, and into the next we're going to complete a single crochet. And again, for this second row, which is going to be the repeat row for the band part of our skirt, we're just completing single crochets in the back loop. And when we get to the end, my preference is for the last stitch I go through both loops as opposed to just the back loop, just to make it nice and smooth and even. And then we do a chain 1 and we turn and we repeat. So this is pretty much what we're doing throughout this part of the project. So for those of you who follow my tutorials, I've made mini skirts. This doesn't change from one tutorial to another, except sometimes maybe I do a band that is a little bit narrower or wider than the others. But beside that, I often do it the same way like this. So as you can see here, I went through both loops. I'll just show you guys that one more time. So this is the last stitch here. Instead of grabbing just the back loop like this, I go ahead and complete it by going through both loops and completing my single crochet. So that's my second row, and you should have 10 stitches here all together. And you will need to make sure you're keeping those 10 stitches going throughout this part of the project. So chain 1 and turn, and then we just repeat again what we just did in the previous row, which is just single crochets in the back of the stitches. Okay, so you're gonna do this until you create the length that you want for the band. So the way I do that, because we built a little bit different, there's some of us who have wider hips than our waist, and there's some of us who are built so that the waist is the same dimension, or the width is the circumference is the same as the hips for the waist. So but because I don't know who is making these and who people are making these type of projects for, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I determine usually how long I want it to be. So that's why we have our tape measure here. I measure in inches. So what I do is I pretty much take my tape measure and I measure around the widest part of my hips. I have quite wide hips compared to my waist circumference. So what do you call it? My hips, the circumference of it is about 40. Sometimes it can go down to 38, but it's mostly around 40. Okay, so this is the circumference of the widest part of my hips right here. And again, because you're looking at these on the camera, it seems like it's extremely wide, but it's just because it's on camera. So this is what I need to get to. I need to get to about 40 inches. And how I determine that is I just work on this until, and I will keep stretching it. So I need to incorporate the stretchiness of this. So I need to keep stretching it and measuring it as I go. And then when the stretchiness of this hits 40 inches, then I stop. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing here. So you're going to do the same. For those of you whose hips circumference is very close to the waist, just go and do goalers with the hips section. Unless you have your waist is bigger than your hips, then you have to do it a little bit different. But yeah, so I'm gonna work on this until I hit my 40 inches. You're gonna work until you hit the number that the widest part of your hips comes up to. When you have that, then come back to the video and I will show you how to start the skirt, the actual main part of the skirt. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked the band here for my skirt, and as you can see, it's I have reached the 40 inches. When I stretch the work, it's very stretchy. So as you can see, this pattern here that you do, especially with acrylic yarn, is very, very stretchy. So this is pretty much the circumference of the widest part of my hips here. But if I let go, it does come shrink in a little bit, and that's where it's gonna go on the waist. So yeah, this often fits a little bit comfortable on the waist, and then because it can stretch, it will be able to come up your hips. And also because we do a little bit of a different stitch here, it will get a little bit wider. Okay, and I will talk about how you can increase if you do need to increase this part of it. All right, so now that I have this completed, as you can see, it's pretty long without even stretching it, and then when I stretch it, it becomes even way wider. Okay, so what I will do is I will fold my work into two like this. Okay, and you can fold it however, but often I finish with an even number of rows so that I fold it evenly and it will look nicer like this. And this is the string that I left hanging from the beginning of our project when we started our single crochets. And I'll just take my darning needle and I will put that into the hole here, and then I will pretty much line up my stitches nice and clean like this, and I will start to join that from here to here. And the way I do that is the string is on the opposite side away from me, and the side that doesn't have a string is towards me. And then I just go through both loops on the side of the first stitch, and then both loops on the other side for the first stitch as well. And I pull, and then I go into that stitch one more time like this, but I will loop my yarn around like this, and then I will pull again, and I will make sure it's sitting on top, not on the side here. Okay, like that. All right, so this is just to secure that section here and to make it very nice and steady so that it doesn't come off. And then for the rest of the stitches, I have 10 stitches here. I just did my 10th. I have 9 to go. So all I will need to do here is I'm going to grab the outside loop of the stitch, which is the one closest to me, and the one closest to me on the opposite side. Then I will pull, and then I'll do the same. I'll go to the next stitch, grab the first stitch towards me on this side, and then the first stitch on the other side that is towards me on the other side, and I pull. And this section here, you don't pull too much because you don't want to wrinkle up your work. So you just pull it enough that you can tell it's kind of pulling the 2 stitches together, but without necessarily kind of crumbling it too much, okay? And then you just join all the way to the end. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so as you can see, I just did my 9th stitch. I have 1 more here to complete at the end. And for this final one, I'm going to go through both loops like we did at the beginning. So I'm going to go into this stitch here, and then the other side, I go through both loops, and I will pull it like that. And I will go through that 1 more time, just like we did this side here. And again, for this, I will loop my yarn around like that, just to secure it more here. So when I have done that and I pull it, then I remove my darning needle. And I'll leave this hanging here in case we have to undo anything, but I will put that away. And as you can see, this is the joining right here. And the reason we use 1 loop to do it is so that we have the consistency of these lines, ridges here, okay? So as you can see, this is the ridge we created from the joining of the 2 stitches right here. Okay, so my band is nice and it's clean, okay? I've joined it. And now I'm going to start the skirt section. And as you can see, this is where my working yarn still is. So I'm just going to put my hook into the working yarn here, and I'm going to start the next, the first row of this, the skirt. Okay, so this is where we're not going to do much beside, not anything different. So I'm going to start a few rows for you, and then we're going to repeat beside changing color and beside creating of the slit on the side. Okay, but for that, again, it's optional. You can just work on your skirt and just do it without having to do the slit. But I'm going to do a slit on mine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first row of the body of the skirt here. I'm going to do a chain of 2. Then I'm going to skip. So as you can see, this stitch here comes from this valley section here. So I'm going to work my next stitch on top of here. So I'm going to go ahead and just complete a double crochet in that section. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch right here. It's not necessarily a stitch, it's just the sections that I'm working my stitches into, because I don't have definite stitches to actually work into from simply just being at the side of the band, okay? But I'm just gonna go into the sections here. So there's the top here, there's the valley, there's a valley, there's a top, there's a valley, there's a top. I'm just following those to go in. If you want to increase your work here, what you can do is, these are technically 2 stitches here, okay? So what you can do is you do a stitch here, you do a stitch here, you do a stitch here, you do a stitch here. That way you're doing a stitch on every stitch that we did before. Every row, you can do a stitch on every single one of those. And that way it creates a little bit of a wider bottom for you. I'm not going to be doing that because mine is already going to be wide enough as is. And because we're doing a double crochet stitch for this section here, the stitch is wide enough for it to create even more elasticity to the body of the skirt, so that it fits nice and tight, but not too tight, okay? So as you can see, this is pretty much just normal double crochet stitches that I'm going to do all around. And I'm going to complete that until I get to here. When I get to here, come back to the video and I will show you how to start the second row, and then I will have you guys repeat and continue to repeat until we have to create a slit, okay? I will see you guys when you come back to this section here. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed my first row here of the double crochets around the band of the skirt. And as you can see, this is pretty much how it looks like, okay? So nice and neat. And then I have pretty much done my final double crochet here for this row. So what I will do is the chain 2 that I worked in at the beginning, I'm going to go on top of it and complete a slip stitch just like that. And that completes this section completely like this, okay? And then for the second row, we just start with a chain 2 again, and we turn, And what I do is I flip my work like this to make it easy to work every time I'm starting a new row. And then from there, I go into the next stage, which is right here, and I complete a double crochet. Just like that. And this chain 2 that you start the row with counts as a double crochet. Then you go into the next stage and complete a double crochet, and into the next stage. And then this is pretty much what you repeat for a while here, okay? So you do this. What I do, because I want to do a slit on one side of my skirt, I'm going to start by doing just in this color here. I'm going to do it until it covers my back, my buttocks, okay? So I'm going to do it long enough. So let's say this was how my skirt was going on my body. I'm probably gonna do it about 10 to 15 inches low, like this. And then I will try it on. When I know that it's covering my back quite well, I will do a slit. The slit is not gonna be on the back, it's gonna be on my side, on my left leg side. But I want it to have also a nice coverage before I do the slit. But for now, I'm gonna work probably about 10 to 15 inches, depending on how long it's gonna take when I try it on, how long it's gonna look on me. And then when I have that, I'm gonna come back. I will show you how to start the slit. And then at some point, we're gonna start to change our color as well. And at this point, I'm going to be doing just, I'm going to be alternating. The bottom of it is gonna be an alternation of the gray and this color. So that I can do kind of like a stripe, like not tiny stripes, probably a couple of rows of stripes, okay? So this is what I'm gonna be working on. I will complete the section that I need to do here, my 10 to 15 inches, and then when I have that completed, I will come back to the video to show you how to start the slit, okay? I will see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed my skirt, the part of it that I needed to complete. And as you can see, it's pretty much done. I ended up doing about 20 rows in the double crochet here. And this is pretty much how it looks like. This is where I will start to show you guys how to do the slit so that we can start to work the slit into the skirt. So as you can see, my last row that I did here, I did not connect it to this side because this is where I will actually start to work my rows with the slit. So this is where we're going to leave the opening. And to do this, I am pretty much not going to connect by doing a slip stitch on the other side like we have been. I'm going to just kind of turn around and then work my stitches backwards, and then I will do this until I get to this point and then do the same by turning back and going the other way. Okay, so I'll quickly show you how to do that. So again, I just did my final double crochet here, and normally I would slip stitch here to start the following row, but I will not because I need to start leaving my slit here. So in this case here, I will just go in with my two double crochet, chain 2 and then turn to be able to do my double crochets, and this counts as a double crochet, this chain 2. And then I'm gonna go into the next stitch right here and complete my double crochet. Okay, then I'll go into the next stitch and complete a double crochet, and into the next stitch. And again, as you can see, nothing changes in terms of what we're doing, except we are not working our full circle. We're doing it until we get to the end, and then we turn around and continue working backwards until we go to the other side, and we do the same because we want to leave this opening right here. Okay, so for this row here, go ahead and complete it until you come back to here on the other side. So you go around. When you get back to here, come back to the video. I will show you how to start the second row, and then that's what we repeat for a couple of rows, because at this point I'm gonna start to change the color as well. So I have my gray color here that I'm gonna do probably about 6 rows in this color after the slit, and then I will change and go back and do about 6 more rows with the gray, and then that's how I will alternate my colors. You can obviously alternate your colors however you think is better for you, okay? But for now, complete this row. Meet me when you have reached the end of it, which is right here. Okay, my lovelies, so I have come around this project here, and I'm now where the slit had started. Keep in mind the chain 2 that we did here, we do count that as a stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do another double crochet on top of that, the chain 2 from that stitch, okay? And this is going to create our work to be a little bit straight like this, okay? So this is my second row where this slit started. I'm going to do my third row again, do a chain of 2 and turn, and then just start working your double crochets going back the direction you just came from. And you do these all the way to the end, and then when you finish that on the final stitch, you go ahead and do a chain 2, turn, and then continue like that. So my plan, like I previously said, was that I'm going to do 6 rows in this. So I'm working on my third now. I will do 3 more, and then after that I will change to the gray color and do 6 rows of that, and then change back to these teal color, do 6 more rows. And this is how I will alternate the rest of my skirt. And again, I'm doing my skirt to be long, so it's gonna go all the way down. Okay, so go ahead and work your project at this point all the way to the end when you have reached the length that you want, because maybe you don't want to do a long one like I am. Maybe you want to do it mid-length or short or whatever the case is, but meet me back when you have reached the length that you want, especially if you're doing it as long as I am, so that you can see how it looks like. Okay, I will see you guys when you have finished the project. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked this skirt to the length that I want, and as you can see here, so I just placed it down so I can show you guys how it looks like. So this is obviously the top part. This is where we started the project up here, and then we worked the project all the way down to the length that I want. So this is the length here. Okay, so I will just quickly explain the color change in the bottom here. Let me just move my chair closer. So as you can see, I was doing 6 rows of each color here, all the way from where I started to change the color. I started here where I started the slit. I have 6 colors in this color here, and then I went to 6 colors in the gray, and then I alternated that. And as you can see here, this changed a little bit in the bottom here, and the reason for that is because I ran out of yarn of this color here. Okay, so I ran out of this, so I ended up doing only 3 rows here, and then I kind of made up that number by doing more in the bottom to finish off the length of my skirt. Okay, so in a way it looks a little bit different than the rest of the striping, because I don't have the enough yarn to have done 6 rows of this and finish it up with 6 rows of this. Okay, so this is, I'm explaining this like this so you're aware as to why it looks different, because when I was in the last clip I told you guys to alternate this all the way to the bottom. And again, another thing that I'm going to explain quickly here, a lot of people ask me how much yarn I use, and often I end up forgetting, and then if you ask me a year later how much yarn I use, I'm not going to be able to remember to tell you. So I'm going to try to tell you at the end of each video how much yarn I ended up using. Why? Because I freestyle my work, and I don't know myself how much yarn I will use until I finish the project. And as you can see, this is obviously something that was not planned, and things like this sometimes can make it so that I can only talk about the correction at the end of the video as opposed to be at the beginning. So please watch the video to the end so I can tell you how much yarn I end up using. Okay, it's not often that I write it in the description box, but if I do, but sometimes I just talk about it at the end of the video. Okay, so for these here, I had three skeins in this color here. Okay, these kind of teal color. I used 3.5 skeins. I thought I had enough to be able to do it all the way, but I only had 3 and a little bit. And in this gray color, I ended up using 2, not 2, it's a little bit, 1 and a bit. I will show you how much is left on the second one. So this is how much is left from the second skein. Okay, so it's, let's say about a skein and a half is what I used in this gray, because we only have a few stripes of it as opposed to the amount that I used for this here. Okay, so about 3.5 in the teal and about 1.5 in the gray. So that is how much yarn I used. And of course, the information on the yarn is all at the beginning of the video, where I say how much or how big this yarn is, what recommended hook size for this type of yarn, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's it. So I have completed my skirt here. It's long, it goes all the way down to my ankles. The slit here is going to be the slit that I do on the side of my leg. So again, you will see the pictures that I've shown at the beginning to show how I wear it. Okay, so all I have to do here is I have to go in and weave in all of the hanging strings from where I changed the color. Okay, I'm gonna weave all of that in, but pretty much at the end here, as you can see, I still have my working yarn attached. What I will do is I will just bring in my scissors, and cut these somewhere here. I don't waste too much yarn, so I just cut as little as possible off so that I don't have to waste too much yarn. And I'll bring in my crochet hook and then just do a slip stitch there to pull that in. Okay, so I will go in and weave in all of my strings here, and when all of that is done, I will come back to finish off the video by showing you guys how the completed one looks like. Okay, see you guys in just a few. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and weaved in all the ends here. So as you can see, the skirt is pretty much completed. It's pretty long. Again, it goes all the way down to my ankles. And as you can see, this is the end here. I just want to talk about your work curving in like this a little bit. This is something where you will pretty much probably have to just kind of play with it like this. Often I don't do anything besides just doing something like this with it. Or what I do sometimes is I just fold my work. For example, I will just do like a nice folding, like I'm putting it off in the closet. And I will make sure that this part here is tucked in so that when I remove it next time, it's sitting flat, okay? So if you do see your work do this, it's not a big deal at all. There's other techniques that people use to make sure any parts of your work that kind of curving like this, you can kind of manipulate it to make it sit flat, but it's not a big deal at all. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the project here. I hope you enjoyed doing this one with me. And if you did and you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share with your friends and family if they are crocheters or they like to do something like this. And yeah, I will definitely see you guys in the next one. Okay, see you guys. Cheers.